Warning: the swords used in this video are real. Never attempt what you see here without soke. Coming up later in this video, Road to the True Master Test. As my plane taxied on the runway, I had lots of time to think. Sailing above a sea of clouds, the 13 hours was full of contemplation. In just half a day, I would finally be reunited with Japan. This after being shut out for years because of the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic. I knew that a special test awaited me there, so as I gazed out of the tiny window, even the structure of the plane itself seemed to remind me of what I would soon face. The live blade of a true Nihonto, sword of the samurai. My destination was located in Saitama Prefecture, a very special place that I have visited over 30 times before. Specifically in the quaint town of Matsubushi-machi, and my second home called Genbukan House. These well-built walls have protected me from typhoons, earthquakes, tornadoes, and floods, so I have fond memories from staying here. This time, as I rode my bike over paths that I knew very well, my senses seemed heightened. I seemed to notice details that were always there, but still, they had escaped my notice for over 30 years. Crossing to the other side of the river, I soon came upon the site that I had been waiting for, the Genbukan Honbu Dojo. The Honbu Dojo is the worldwide headquarters. It is the source of the martial arts and spiritual teachings of our tradition. Here is the best place to train, to gain direct experience and form a bridge to true understanding. This was all made possible because of my sensei, Grandmaster Shoto Tanemura. At the beginning of my trip, there was a thunderstorm and days of rain. But after the sun came out again, I was able to see the glorious sight of the ume no hana, plum blossoms. These bloom before the famous sakura, and because the flowers are strong enough to come out while snow is still on the ground, they are one of the symbols of fortitude in the face of adversity. This reminded me of Kajo Waraku, a flower heart that can enjoy peace and experience contentment in this very moment. This naturally connects with Kajo Chikuse. One must have a flower's heart and honesty. Your heart should be as clean-cut and straight, like a blade that slices through a stalk of bamboo. Most of the quotes from Tanemura Sensei that I'm using in this video come from Soge's great book, NINPO Secrets. When the Grandmaster directed me to make this video, Soge instructed that I include a brief history of my training with the Grandmaster. Of course, it's impossible to capture everything that has happened since I met Tanemura Sensei as just a teenager. But if I had to boil it down to just a few words, I would say this: whatever happens, keep going it is definitely worth the effort. From where I'm sitting today, my heart has opened up in ways that I never thought possible. Of course, I've experienced great pain and difficulty along the way. This path is hard, but it is fulfilling. These days, it's not about what I can get, but rather what I can give that fulfills me and keeps me inspired. What is true self-defense? It's the ability to protect both the body and the heart. Goshin Jitsu. Generally, the human mind is 90% subconscious, so most people only use the 10% surface consciousness. Therefore, we navigate through this life with only a tiny percentage of our potential conscious perception. This with input coming from the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and the mind itself. There are obvious limitations to physical exercise, but it seems that there is much more potential to be explored in mental training. The true heart, also called the soul or spirit, is not located in the brain, but rather it coexists with our physical body. It's shaped like a sphere and is housed in the trunk of the torso. We must be keenly aware of the fact that the mind and body are distinct, yet connected. In the Genbukan, the main focus of the examinations above the 5th Dan black belt level is not only physical skill. Additionally, the students' character and insight, especially including their degree of unity of mind. This is tested also. I have already written extensively about my experience with the Koshi test in Chapter 5 of my book, Warrior Apprenticeship with the Grandmaster. Here is how Soke describes it. For the examination for students above 5th Dan black belt level, I have the students sit in the middle of the dojo in meditation. Then I stand behind them holding a shinai, bamboo sword, in the upper jodan position. Without making a sound, I suddenly cut down, issuing sakki, killing intent. If the student perceives this murderous intent and escapes, they pass the examination to become a kyoshi. Only at this stage can you call yourself a martial artist. Personally, I passed this test on October 22nd, 2002. Since then, I've had the privilege to witness several kyoshi tests. Although the main elements of the tests were the same, each had a distinct beauty, unique to the person who passed it. Now for part 1 of the authentic Shihan test. At this point, I will repeat the warning that I gave at the beginning of the video. The swords used in this video truly are real. Never attempt this without Soke. The fateful day finally came. After the evening training session, all of the other students were ordered to leave the dojo, and I was left alone to meditate. The following footage of my actual test was taken by Hanshi Kotaro Tanemura. First, it will be shown in complete silence, and afterwards, again, with commentary. After we bowed in, I heard no sounds from Soke. The Grandmaster's movements were utterly silent. For the examination for students above the 7th Dan black belt level, I start by sitting in the inner parlor of my house and enter a state of meditation. Then, with a true sword that has never been stained with blood, I quietly enter the dojo and go around behind the examinee. Holding the Shinken live blade in the Daijodan position, I attack with only Zanki, cutting intent, not the same murderous Sakki as in the Kyoshi test. If the examinee can understand this with their heart and mind, they will successfully pass the first part needed to become a Shihan. Note, the title Jun Shihan does not exist in the Genbukan anymore. So, if the examinee passes part 1, then they immediately continue to the next part of the full Shihan test. This second part of the test was a complete surprise to me, and it went beyond what I could have imagined. Again this time, I will show part 2 in complete silence. As before, I start in a state of calmness. I quietly assume the kamae, holding the true sword overhead, like in Daijodan Karatakiwari. I do not use any sakki, killing intent, or zanki, slashing intent. Only muki, no intent. To put it simply, muki comes during a mindless state, wherein only the ki of the sword itself is used. Those who can perceive this avoid the live sword without any trouble. They will pass the exam and become Shihan, true masters. Passing this part of the test was very emotional for me. I spontaneously bowed, and tears of joy started flowing from my eyes. It's very difficult for me to describe my feelings at that moment, but I can say that when I touched it, even though the sword was coming down towards my head, I was at peace, and my body moved automatically. After the examinations were over, Soke allowed me to handle the true sword from the Aizu region of Japan. This is the birthplace of many of the amazing schools taught in the Genbukan. On February 28, 2024, I was given the great honor of being named Shihan by Grandmaster Shoto Tanemura. Also, after prayer and meditation, the Grandmaster bestowed upon me my martial arts name, Gendru, Sword Dragon. I was a Kyoshi for over 20 years. During that time, I studied as deeply as I could what the core teachings of our traditions are. Now as a Shihan, I will never stop working and will do my very best to embody the selfless spirit that these teachings represent in my everyday life. As I rode to Narita Airport, I remembered the following words from Soke. Isn't our true purpose and mission to build a peaceful, healthy, and happy world, and to live life to the fullest? In order to approach this ideal, indescribable patience and determination are required. It is not easy, but it's not too late. I hope that you will all do your best to live your lives so that you can truly feel satisfied and are able to say, I'm so glad to be alive, without any regrets. The sun is always above the clouds. Remember the light that's inside of you, and don't forget to help others. Arigatou gozaimashita. If you would like more information on this or other amazing schools, please go to www.genbukan.org and check out the resources in the description below. I'll see you in the next video.